my channel, and if this is your first time, well, a special welcome to you. Today's tale is Rapunzel, so sit back, relax, maybe close your eyes, and just listen. Once upon a time, in a tiny cottage near the forest, there lived a young woodcutter and his beautiful wife. They were happy with each other and never lonely. A big, honey-colored dog, a mother hen, and 3 chicks kept them company. But they were even happier when they found out that they were soon to have a baby. The young husband was overjoyed that they would soon have a child of their own. He did everything he could to help his wife and to prepare for the baby's arrival. He swept the house, gathered the eggs, and carried the water. Every night he worked long hours carving a cradle, just the right size for a new baby. While her husband worked on the cradle, his young wife sat near him sewing beautiful clothes for her baby. They thought they were the happiest couple in the world. They were even too busy and too content to think about the wicked witch who lived next door to their cottage. The witch was not only wicked, but selfish too. The only thing she loved in the world was her beautiful garden, but she built a high wall around it so that no one else could enjoy its beauty. Only the woodcutter and his wife could see into the garden from the back window of their cottage. One morning, shortly before their baby was to be born, the young wife stood at the window and looked into the beautiful garden. "Oh," she sighed, "what beautiful radishes! How tender and fresh they look. How I would love to eat some of those right now." The young husband was horrified. "How can you hope to eat anything from the witch's garden?" he asked. "You know she never gives anything to anyone." "I know," sighed his wife sadly. But she could not stop thinking about the radishes. For days she refused to eat anything until finally, because he loved her so much, her husband decided that she should have what she desired so greatly. That night, when all was still, he climbed carefully over the high garden wall and gathered the fattest, reddest radishes he could find. "They're just as delicious as they look," his wife cried happily as she ate every last one. Every night after that, her husband climbed into the garden and stole more of the witch's radishes. But one night, as the woodcutter climbed over the wall, the terrible witch was lying in wait for him, surrounded by her black, screeching ravens. "How dare you be so bold to intrude into my garden like a thief and rob me of what is mine? You have taken something precious from me," she raged. "And soon, in return, I shall take something precious from you. I shall take away your baby and raise her as my own child." She refused to hear any more of the poor man's tearful pleas concerning his wife's condition, and she dismissed him harshly. When their baby daughter was born, there was no joy in the woodcutter's cottage. There was only sadness. In vain the young couple pleaded for the old witch's forgiveness, but she would not listen. She would not forgive the husband's intrusion into her garden. "Your child is my child now," cackled the witch, as she snatched the baby from the arms of the weeping parents. "I shall call her Rapunzel." The years passed, and Rapunzel lived alone and lonely with the witch, growing more lovely every day. Her eyes were bluer than the sky, and her hair was long and golden. And as Rapunzel grew more beautiful, the witch grew more jealous. "I shall lock her away in a distant tower," said the witch cruelly. "Then I alone shall know her rare beauty." Rapunzel had been lonely before, but she was even lonelier in the tower, with only her doves and kittens for company. The tower had no door and no stairway, only one small window high above the ground. Only the old witch knew the secret of how to enter it. Every day when she came, she stood beneath the window and called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Whenever she called so, Rapunzel would drop down her two thick golden braids, which were long enough to reach the ground, and would pull the witch up to the tower window. The girl's beautiful, thick golden hair became the witch's ladder. One day, as the witch was standing by the tower, a young prince came riding by, and he hid and listened as the witch called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then he watched in amazement as the long golden braids came tumbling down and the witch was pulled up. After the witch went away again, the young prince decided to discover for himself the mystery of the tower. Standing below the window, he called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Instantly, two thick golden braids fell into his hands. He grasped them tightly and felt himself being pulled up into the tower window. A moment later, he was looking at the most beautiful maiden he had ever seen. Rapunzel was terrified at first, but not for long. She too had never seen such a handsome youth before. The prince was so kind and gentle that within minutes the two had fallen deeply in love. Although they knew they risked the witch's fury, every night thereafter the prince visited the tower. They were very happy, but their happiness quickly came to an end. One night the witch returned unexpectedly just in time to see the prince at the window. The witch knew now that she had been deceived, and that she took her cruel revenge the very next day. She cut off Rapunzel's beautiful hair and banished her to the wilderness forever. And that night, when the prince climbed up the tower window, he found the evil witch awaiting for him at the top, where she had tied the severed braids to the window frame. The prince was terribly afraid, but he was no coward. "What have you done to my Rapunzel, wicked woman?" he shouted bravely, but trying to keep his voice from trembling. "She is gone forever," cackled the witch, "and you will never find her or see her again." As she spoke, she untied Rapunzel's thick golden braids from the window, and the unlucky prince crashed to the ground below. He was fortunate to fall into a thick bramble bush, so that he broke no bones, but its sharp thorns stabbed him cruelly and cut into his eyes and blinded him. So great was his determination and his love for Rapunzel, that even blind, the prince vowed to continue to search the world over for her. The wild creatures watched him sadly and with sympathy as he stumbled on in his blindness. Through forests and fields, over mountains and down into valleys, he trudged. He seemed a prince no more, but a blind beggar in rags and tatters, begging for his food. Wherever we went, he called out pitifully, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, where can I find you?" But he was unable to find her. Then one day he arrived at the edge of the endless wilderness, and he could not go on. Sick and weak, he sank to the ground. "I can't go on," he gasped. "I know I have lost my Rapunzel forever." The prince lay there delirious, never guessing at last he had arrived at the place of Rapunzel's banishment. From a distance, Rapunzel saw the ragged figure lying on the ground, and she went toward him to offer help. When she stood over him looking down, she instantly recognized her lost prince. Two hot tears of pity fell from her eyes onto the prince's closed eyelids. Then he opened his eyes slowly, and then wider in wonder, for his blindness had been cured by her tears of genuine love. He saw Rapunzel before him, and with great joy realized his long search was over. Good fortune followed the young couple even after. Together they returned to the prince's palace in the far country he had left so long ago in his wanderings. There they were married before the prince's family and Rapunzel's joyful parents, who had never forgotten or given up hope of finding their stolen daughter. As for the envious witch, she flew into a rage and locked herself in Rapunzel's tower and never came out again. The end. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to click on the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications when new stories become available. Bye for now.